Let's look at Kcse paper 1 2022. The first question: state 2 reasons why humans are not commonly used as specimens for genetic studies. Number 1, the humans take longer to mature, that is for observations to be made, and the humans cannot be contained under some set experimental conditions, and it is also unethical to partake on the genetic studies using humans. Question 2, on the diagram of the root tip below, label the regions where, number 1, cells become specialized as E. You can see above here that is a region of cell specialization, or what we call a region of cell differentiation, because we have some of the cells have a specialized or are differentiated to become root hairs. Part B, cells increase in size. This is the region where the cells increase in size, and maybe the bottom layer or the bottommost part in the region of cell division. The cells are rapidly dividing, then after they divide, they are able to increase in size. That is where we have F, the region of cell elongation. And the cell elongation, it means the cells are increasing in size. Then after increasing the size, the cells become specialized to perform different functions. That is a region E, region of cell specialization. Question 3, state 2 environmental conditions that can lead to formation of carboxyhemoglobin in the human body. And first, before we look at the environmental conditions, we should know carboxyhemoglobin, it is a combination of hemoglobin and carbon 2 oxide. In short, it means the environmental conditions are the ones which are able to form carbon 2 oxide. Number 1, we have burning carbon in an inadequate supply of air. For example, a charcoal jiko, to be able to produce carbon 2 oxide, which combines with the hemoglobin to form carboxyhemoglobin. Then number 2, we have burning of fossil fuels or emission of carbon 2 oxide from exhaust fumes and from mines and generators. Part B, explain the effect of carboxyhemoglobin in the human body. It is a stable compound, that means it does not dissociate easily or break easily. Hence, hemoglobin is not free. That means it is locked up and hence not able to transport oxygen. And this results to suffocation or death. That is the effect of carboxyhemoglobin in the human body. Next question. State the significance of each of the following characteristics of mammalian lungs: being elastic, and that is to allow it to expand or inflate during inhalation and contract or deflate during exhalation. And also you can say to accommodate varied volumes of respiratory gases. Then having pleural fluid, and the pleural fluid is a shock absorber against a mechanical damage. And apart from that, it reduces friction or lubricates the lungs during breathing. And maybe a point to note, don't use prevent friction. It is reduce friction because friction cannot be prevented. It is just reduced. Question 5. Below is a diagram of a bacterium. Identify the kingdom to which the organism belongs. And the bacteria, they belong to kingdom Monera. And when writing the kingdoms, they should start with a capital letter. Part B, state 2 features shown on the diagram that are characteristics of this kingdom. Number one, unicellular. So you look at the diagram, you can see that it is unicellular, meaning it is a single celled. Then it is prokaryotic. Prokaryotic means that the nucleus here, it is not membrane bound, or it lacks the nuclear membrane. That's why you say it is a prokaryotic. That is the best term. Then presence of flagella. Presence of flagella. We have the flagella here. These four. This one and this one and this one. They are the flagella. And flagella are mainly used for movement or locomotion. Then it has a few organelles. As you can see, there are very few organelles. That's why you are saying it is under kingdom Monera. Question 6. Name the part of the ovule that forms each of the following structures after fertilization. Roman 1, zygote. That is the egg cell, and the egg cell will form the zygote when it fuses with the male nucleus. Then testa, that is integuments, and the integuments are the ones which form the testa. Part B, name the hormone responsible for development of a deep voice in humans, and that is a testosterone hormone, which is the one which is responsible for secondary sexual characteristics. And a deep voice is an example of a secondary sexual characteristic in males. Question 7. Differentiate between a population and a community as used in ecology. And a population is a group of organisms of the same species which coexist in a particular habitat, while a community is a group of plants and animals of different species living together in a given habitat. Part B, explain one negative effect of the use of herbicides on human health. Herbicides accumulate in the food chain. That is what we call biomagnification. They are able to accumulate in the food chain, which feed on human beings and slowly accumulate in human tissues, causing diseases or even poisoning. Then part C, state two ways through which energy is lost from one trophic level to the next in a food chain. Elimination of waste or excretion, or through urination, sweating, defecation, decomposition of organic matter, partial predation, then unconsumed parts through respiration. Question 8. The following apparatus is used in biological studies. Identify it, and that is a pair of forceps. A pair of forceps. And the function is for picking up or holding specimens, especially the specimens which are dangerous because they are poisonous. Then next question, question 9. Give 2 reasons why anaerobic respiration yields less energy than aerobic respiration. And this is because there is incomplete or partial breakdown of the substrate or glucose. Then there is inadequate oxygen, or at times oxygen is absent. That is why there is a less energy yield by anaerobic respiration. Part B, explain why fats are not efficient respiratory substrates. They are insoluble in water and hence not easily transported to the body tissues, and also they require more oxygen to be oxidized. Question 10. The table below shows the concentration in parts per million of sodium and iodide ions in seawater and cell sap of a plant. We have in seawater, sodium ions concentration is 326, cell sap 162. Then iodide concentration in seawater 39 and cell sap 574. Part A, Roman 1, which of the two ions intake will be affected if the plant was sprayed with a chemical that inhibits respiration? And in this case, for you to know, respiration yields energy for the cell, and this energy is used in active transport. In short, they are asking which ions will be absorbed by active transport. And let's look at our table. Let's look at sodium ions concentration. In seawater is 326, cell sap 162. It means the sodium ions are moving from seawater, where they are highly concentrated, to the cell sap, where it is lowly concentrated, and that is diffusion. On the other hand, iodide ions in seawater is 39, cell sap 574. And these iodide ions must move from the seawater to the cell sap by the root hairs, and it means the iodide ions are moving where they are lowly concentrated to a region where they are highly concentrated, and this process is referred to as active transport and requires energy, and this energy is gotten from respiration. And when you spray a chemical that inhibits respiration, it means iodide ions concentration or iodide ions uptake will be affected. It means the ion which will be affected is iodide ions, because it is absorbed by active transport, which gets energy from respiration. Explain your answer. The uptake of iodide ion is done by active transport, which is energy dependent, which when inhibited consequently impairs active transport, or the process responsible for the uptake of ion. Part B, an experiment was set up as shown in the diagram below. You have a whisking tubing, starch solution inside the whisking tubing, then you have iodine solution, then you have beaker. At the end of the experiment, it was observed that the starch turned blue-black, while the color of iodine solution in the beaker did not change. Account for the observation. 2 marks. We are saying starch turned blue-black. Starch is inside the whisking tubing, and iodine solution in the beaker did not change. And in this case, the whisking tubing is semi-permeable. It allowed selective passage of iodine molecules into it. Starch molecules are bigger than iodine, hence could not diffuse through the pores of the whisking tubing into the beaker. Next question, 11. The diagram below represents a stage in a cell division. Part A, Roman 1. Name the stage of cell division illustrated, and that is a metaphase 1. Roman 2. Give a reason for your answer in A Roman 1 above. And the first reason, spindles have formed, and each pair of chromosomes, or the bivalents or the homologous chromosomes, are aligned at the equator. Remember, we refer to them as bivalents simply because they are still in pairs, they are together. Remember, in prophase 1, These are chromosomes, homologous chromosomes. We refer to them as bivalents because they are still in pairs, and they lay side by side in a process called synapsis. And in metaphase, the chromosomes are always aligned at the equator of the spindle fibers. At the equator, we mean at the center of the spindle fibers. Then part B, in the space below, illustrate the next stage of cell division after the one illustrated. And you must know the stage, and you must know the stage. The next stage is anaphase 1, because we have that formula IPMAT. Interphase, from interphase prophase metaphase anaphase, then we have telophase. And the next stage, I think you must draw well the anaphase 1. These are chromosomes which were bivalents here. The two chromosomes, they move to the opposite poles. They start moving to the opposite poles. You can see they have separated from the equator of the spindle fibers, and they are moving to the opposite poles. This chromosome is moving this direction to the opposite pole, the same to this one. Then also this one is moving towards the opposite pole. This one is moving towards the opposite pole. And in the prophase 1, anaphase 1, realize they form something like a V shape when they are moving towards the opposite pole. Explain disadvantage of inbreeding among living organisms. And inbreeding involves crossing closely related organisms of the same family, and this hampers variation, resulting into transmission of undesired genes to subsequent generations. Results in a transmission of undesired traits or genes to subsequent generation, and this leads to loss of hybrid vigor, or in other terms, you can say there is no heterosis, that is the exchange of genes. Then the next question says explain why small plants do not require an elaborate system of gaseous exchange. And this is about surface area to volume ratio, and these organisms, most of their body is exposed to the environment, hence diffusion is sufficient for gaseous exchange. I'm sorry, it is not clear. The diameter of the field of view of light microscope was 1.5 millimeter, and the cells observed under the field of view appeared as shown below. Determine length of each cell in micrometer. And the determination of length of each cell, the formula is a diameter of field of view, this one, which we've been given 1.5, over the number of cells across the field of view. And maybe you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You substitute and you'll be able to get 250 micrometer, and you must change the millimeter into micrometer, and 1 millimeter is equal to 1,000 micrometer. Next question. Name the cell organelle responsible for each of the following activities: protein synthesis, and that is ribosome; transport of lipids, that is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Next question, question 15. Name two organisms that belong to kingdom Protoctista. You can have Amoeba, Paramecium, Euglena, Spirogyra, Trypanosoma, Plasmodium, Chlamydomonas. There are very many. Question 16. Explain why only the fine adjustment knob should be used when focusing a specimen using the high power objective lens of the microscope. Explain why only fine adjustment knob should be used when using high power objective lens of the light microscope. This is because the space for manipulation of the stage is limited to avoid crushing of the slide of the specimen, and the distance for manipulation of the stage is limited. It means this fine adjustment knob only moves a shorter distance to give fine details, and when you use it with a high power objective lens, it is longer than a middle and lower power objective lens. So it means you cannot use the Kcse adjustment knob, because the Kcse adjustment knob moves a long distance, causes the body tube to move a long distance, thus it may crash the slide. Then part B, animal cell was viewed under a light microscope using objective lens, which is a magnification of times 75, and eyepiece lens of times 10. Determine the total magnification of the image. And the total magnification of the image under a microscope is the eyepiece lens magnification times objective lens magnification, which you get times 10 times 75, that is magnification of times 750. And this sign, the X must come before the number for you to get the correct tick. A goat and a sheep are both herbivores. Explain why the two can comfortably exist in the same ecosystem. A goat is a browser, and the browser, it means it feeds on shrubs and tree leaves mainly, while a sheep is a grazer, it mainly feeds on grass. Therefore, there is no competition for common food needed for their survival. Question 18. The diagram below shows the bones of the human arm. Name the type of joint found in the region labeled G. And G, as you can see, at G, that is the elbow, we have this bone here, the humerus, and this one, ulna and radius. And the joint is a hinge joint, because the hinge joint, it can only move 180 degrees, and is found at the elbow. Then H we have the carpals. These bones are called the carpals, and the metacarpals are found here. And the joint found between those carpals, or those small bones sliding each other, we call it gliding joint or sliding joint. Then explain why the bones of the cranium are fused. And the cranium is formed due to fusion of bones of the skull, and that is to protect the brain. That is the reason they are fused. Question 19. 60 white and 60 black mice were released in an area inhabited by jackals. After 6 weeks, it was established that 24 black and 8 white mice had remained. Account for the observation. And accounting for an observation, you must start by saying what you observed, then we explain why the observation. There was a greater decline in the number of white mice than the black. As you can see, 60 white mice, then 8 remained, while black 60 originally 24 remain. That's why you're saying there is a greater decline in the number of white mice than black. When the white mice were selected against, that is by nature, they did not camouflage well with the surrounding, hence could be easily seen by predators of the jackals, unlike the black mice. Name the evolution theory that supports this observation, that is natural selection. And the natural selection says that organisms which have advantageous traits are able to survive and reach sexual maturity, and through reproduction they pass those traits to the subsequent generations. And in this case, the advantageous trait is that the black mice were able to camouflage, unlike the white mice. Hence, they are not easily predated upon. Question 20. A small amount of substance K was applied on one side of bean coleoptiles. After 36 hours, the coleoptiles curved away from the side where the substance was applied. Part A suggests the likely identity of substance K, that is auxin. An example of auxin we have in oleacetic acid. Explain how the substance may have caused coleoptiles to curve, and the auxins, or it is the substance, caused faster cell division and cell elongation on the side it was applied, and this led to faster growth compared to the opposite side, resulting in curvature away from the side where it was applied. And when explaining, we must talk about the comparison faster, not just fast, and more elongation or curvature. Question 21. Explain the role of antidiuretic hormone when human blood water level is below normal. And when water level is below normal, it is due to dehydration, or maybe due to sweating a lot or vomiting, that will cause the body to be dehydrated. In this case, more antidiuretic hormone is secreted, and the antidiuretic hormone stimulates kidney tubules to increase their permeability to water. And when permeability is increased, it means more water is reabsorbed into the bloodstream until the osmotic balance is attained. That is how antidiuretic hormone is able to assist in human blood water level back to normal. Question 22. Equal amounts of crushed Irish potato were placed in equal volumes of hydrogen peroxide solution at various pH values. A gas L was produced. Its volume measured and recorded as shown in the table below. pH 4.2, volume of gas produced 2.9 centimeter cubic. At pH of 7, volume of gas was 5.9 centimeter cubic. pH of 9.2, volume of gas was 7.9 centimeter cubic. And before we continue, crushed Irish potato contains enzyme Kcse. And when you look at the pH is a factor which affects enzyme controlled reaction. And some enzymes work best in neutral pH, some work best in alkaline pH, and some work best in acidic pH. In this case, this enzyme Kcse works best in alkaline pH, that is 9.2. When you compare a lot of the volume of gas is highest at this pH, which is alkaline. But identify gas L. Gas L is oxygen, and this is because hydrogen peroxide is broken down to produce oxygen and water, and this is catalyzed by enzyme catalase found in the Irish potato. Account for the difference in volume of gas L produced at pH values of 4.2 and 9.2. Remember, 9.2 is alkaline, 4.2 is acidic, and at 4.2 is a 2.9, 9.2 we have 7.9. And I said when accounting, you must state the observation first before explaining the observation. Let's look at it. More gas was produced at pH of 9.2 than pH of 4.2. pH 9.2 was alkaline or basic and was favorable for optimal working of the enzyme catalase in the Irish potato. And lower pH of 4.2 was acidic medium and did not favor optimal working of the enzyme. Then question 23, name the causative agent of trichomoniasis, that is Trichomonas vaginalis. And when writing down, you should follow the principles of binomial nomenclature. The genus name, which is Trichomonas, should start with a capital letter. Then species part should be small letters, and they should be underlined separately when handwritten. Then maybe in printed works should be in italics. Part B, say the role of hair-like structures in each of the following, and that is a cilia in the fallopian tube, and the role is to propel the ovum or the sperm or the zygote or the blastocyst to the oviduct. The nasal lining to trap solid or dust particles in the inhaled air. Name the agent of pollination in maize plant, and that is a wind. That is wind. Question 24. Below is a graphical representation of the population of animals in a certain ecosystem over a period of time. You can look at y-axis population of animals. Then we have time. Then maybe before we look at the question, you can just observe your graph as time is increasing to 15, the population of animals is also increasing. Then it decreases, then starts increasing, decreases, increases, decreases, increases, then decreases up to this level, becomes constant. Determine the carrying capacity of the ecosystem, that is a 75. You can calculate here. You can look at the diagram. The highest is a 80, which can accommodate the maximum. Then you can look at this middle part, plus 5, that is 75. And carrying capacity is the maximum number an area can carry without depletion of resources. Without depletion of resources. Next, part B, account for the change in population for the first 15 years. For the first 15 years, you can be able to see the population of animals is increasing, and you can say the population is increasing exponentially or rapidly because the organisms had adjusted to the environment, and the conditions were favorable for reproduction, and there was adequate food, water, space, and no competition for resources. Also, there were no diseases, and more reproduce, and we had fewer deaths. Question 25. The photograph shows a plant obtained from a certain habitat. As you can see, we have it is floating on water. Say the likely habitat, and the likely habitat will be fresh water. freshwater habitat. And the reason it has a broader leaf surface to provide a large surface area or increased surface area for transpiration. Then presence of shallow roots to minimize absorption of water. Then broad leaf surfaces with the large air spaces called parenchyma tissues for buoyancy. Then flowers raised above water surface to enhance pollination. So the diagram was not clear, but those are the reasons. And because it is a hydrophyte, it has those features to help it lose a lot of water. Also presence of shallow roots to minimize absorption of water, because in this case they are living in an environment full of water. They don't need more water. And that is the end. You can like and subscribe for more content.